All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about Cleanspark, stock ticker CLSK. They are a Bitcoin mining company. They put out their operational update for the month of January this morning. I think it is very big news and in some ways record-breaking. So I want to go through that and take a look at where Cleanspark is at. If you're new to the channel, we cover the Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin all the time on this channel. So please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Also, if everybody could please smash the like button. Lastly, you can join the channel by hitting the join button on the YouTube page. It's right next to the subscribe button. If you don't see a join button, there should be a link in the description below. Membership has a bunch of perks. We do live streams every Tuesday for members only. Members get to pick a company each week for me to do a deep dive video on. We also have a members only Discord that you get direct access to talking with the members and myself. So we'd love to have you there. Appreciate anybody supporting the channel. Okay, let's talk about Cleanspark. So to start with, Cleanspark is up just under 10% right now on the trading day. It's been a volatile trading day so far this morning, so we'll see where all of this ends. This is fairly consistent with the rest of the Bitcoin miners, so it's really not jumping on this news, although I think it should. I was absolutely stunned when I saw their number for production for the month of January. So let's go straight to the report. Cleanspark releases January 2023 Bitcoin mining update. Company mines a record 697 Bitcoin for the month, up 50% from the prior month and 129% from the same period last year. Company's Bitcoin hodl grows 32%. We'll talk about that. They actually have a very small hodl. They're not really a hodl company, but their mining results were absolutely spectacular. This was beyond my expectation, and as you can see, it's a 50% increase month over month. So that is a big surprise because their exahash was only up a little bit, maybe 7 or 8%. So for their exahash to be up 7 or 8% and have a 50% increase is staggering, particularly since there were two very large difficulty level increases in the month of January. So it should have been harder to match their number, but you're going to see in this report why they were able to do this. And I think we can expect results like this on a going forward basis. And later I'm going to show you that in one particular way, this is actually a record, not just for Cleanspark, but for all of the Bitcoin mining companies. Okay, this is CEO Zach Bradford. We had a banner month, and not just because we mined a record number of Bitcoin. We also had our most reliable month ever, achieving 98% uptime across all of our sites. So this is why their number jumped so dramatically. Now, they did have some unusual circumstances in December, so their number was a little lower in December than it ordinarily would have been. There were some one-off events that occurred that they had to deal with. But this 98% uptime, this is something that they strive for, and you can see when they're at full capacity, this is a company that's now mining nearly 700 Bitcoin a month. And when we put this in perspective versus what they've done historically, nobody has grown faster than Cleanspark over the last 12 to 13 months, and it's not even close. This remarkable achievement is the direct result of some of the hardest working and most dedicated teams in the public Bitcoin mining sector. He further says, quote, as a proprietary miner, we exercise tremendous control over our ability to meet targets by building our own infrastructure and installing our equipment according to our own schedule. Additionally, we have greater control over the resources, which translates to higher uptime. This month's mining update is a perfect example of the approach in action, which has allowed us to grow fast and operate reliably. So I do think, like he's saying here, I do think that in business as usual months, this is the kind of numbers we can expect them to post. Now, obviously, things happen. So a lot of times, severe weather can impact, as well as a few other variables. But in general, it looks to me like they've gotten themselves back on track. And we'll take a look at this, at the progression of this over the last year, and you'll see it's been pretty much aligned straight up. Okay, Bitcoin mined in January, 697. Total Bitcoin held as of January 31st, 301. So as you can see, in 2022, they were not a hodl company, and this still represents a very small amount of Bitcoin versus some of the other Bitcoin miners. Now, a lot of the Bitcoin miners are just selling 100% of their Bitcoin, and they're not hodling at all. It looks to me like they're hinting towards maybe some type of hybrid scenario going forward. So total Bitcoin converted for operations and growth in January was 624. So they mined 697. So they did not sell everything that they mined. Currently, the deployed fleet of about 66,000 latest generation Bitcoin miners with a hash rate of 6.6 exahash, up 7% from December 22 and 214% from January 2022. So again, it's noteworthy. Their exahash was up 7%. The difficulty level in total was up 15%, yet their production was up 50%. So this was a spectacular month. All right, January daily Bitcoin mined averaged about 22.5 and reached a high of 24.2. So on their best day, they got to 24.2 in a day. That's the best day they've ever had. That's the best average per day they've ever had in a month. This is the best month they've ever had by a mile. So let's just take a look at their mining by month. This is a chart that I make of basically, this is the last year. Actually, it looks like this is the last 14 months, so you can see some comparisons. The first thing I want to show is year over year. Last January, they did 305. This January, they did 697. So that's well over a double year over year. Last December, they did 226. So from last December to this January, they've actually tripled their production. And you can see this is by far and away their largest month ever. Their previous all-time record was 535. So this absolutely destroyed their previous all-time record. And I do think CleanSpark has reiterated that they plan on growing exahash rapidly this year. They started the year at 6. They plan on getting to 16 is the stated goal. So I would expect to see their exahash continue to increase, and potentially they could continue to set new records month after month here, despite the fact that this was by far their all-time record month. So that remains to be seen. One of the variables definitely is going to be, does Bitcoin remain at least semi-healthy? Bitcoin's now in the $23,000 to $24,000 range, so I'm calling that a little bit healthy. You know, down at 16 and 17,000, a lot of these Bitcoin miners weren't making very much money, and they were not highly incentivized to be at, 98% efficiency. So going forward, if Bitcoin can stay healthy, I think we're going to see more and more numbers that look like this. Okay, so the other thing I want to look at is if you take 697 Bitcoin mined in the month, and they had 6.6 exahash. So this is just a basic computation. That comes out to 106 Bitcoin per exahash. So that is outstanding. Bitfarms reported 110 Bitcoin per exahash. It looks to me like CleanSpark and Bitfarm both will be among the leaders. And just to take a look at where everybody was last month. Okay, so this was December. So you can see Bitfarms was in first with 110. CleanSpark, like I said, had an unusual one-time only event. They dropped down to 75. They're typically among the leaders. So this month, they're going to be back. You can see they're at 106, which would have been second place last month, and the difficulty level went up significantly this month. So, again, I would expect them to regain their position as one of the most efficient miners out of all the publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies. The other thing worth looking at is this is production for December. So this is excluding Core Scientific, and I'm excluding Core Scientific because they have filed for Chapter 11 and they're in reorganization. So although they have mined more Bitcoin than anybody by far, they did so by growing so aggressively that it essentially put them into bankruptcy. So they're in Chapter 11. We don't know what that means for their shareholders. So for comparative purposes, I don't think their numbers are relevant, but just FYI, Core Scientific did mine by far the most Bitcoin out of everybody in the year 2022, all 12 months, every single month of the year. But them notwithstanding, Riot mined 659 Bitcoin in December. That was the highest number for any of the other Bitcoin miners for the entire year and really the entire last 2 years. So this really was, in a lot of ways, minus Core Scientific, this 659 was a record. So if we go back to this month, you can see CleanSpark beat that record. So they're at 697. Nobody's been to 700 yet other than Core Scientific, so they got very, very close. Riot and Marathon have not yet reported, so we will have to see if they were able to keep pace with this. Neither one of those companies has ever posted a number of 697, so for the moment, for today, this is the new record, excluding Core Scientific. Okay, so real quick, let's take a look at CleanSpark's charts. So this is CleanSpark zoomed out on the 1 week time frame, so I just wanted to go back. You can see they hit a local high in November of 2021. That's when Bitcoin hit its all-time high. They were trading up around $23.60. Now, I will say this stock ran up to $40 in January of 2021, back really almost before they even started mining Bitcoin. So I'm not even using that as a point of comparison. Since they became a Bitcoin mining company, $23.60 is their all-time high. So you can see they're still down 85% from that right now. So we're going to zoom in and see that they've had a really nice run up in the last month, but this still leaves them down 85% off of their recent high from November of 2021 when Bitcoin hit its all-time high. Now, obviously, Bitcoin's nowhere near its all-time high, but it's worth mentioning that CleanSpark is more than 3 times the size company they were back in November. They're mining more than 3 times as many Bitcoins, so there should be a lot of room to the upside still left with this stock down 85%. Okay, so if we zoom in from their low in the middle of December 16th, so that was about 6 weeks ago, about a month and a half ago. As of today's price action, they're now up 108% in the middle of the day here today. So they have more than doubled. This is actually on the lower side of most of the Bitcoin miners. There are at least 7 or 8 Bitcoin miners that have done substantially better than this. So, obviously this is a great run. A double in a month and a half is fantastic, but I do believe there's a lot more room to the upside. And one of the numbers that I want to look at, if I go to this purple line right here, okay, so that purple line's at about $5. That's where CleanSpark was back in September of 2022 when Bitcoin was at around 22,400. We're at least $1,000 higher than that right now. We've actually touched 24,000 within the last 24 hours. So really, in my opinion, CleanSpark has become a much larger company since then. Bitcoin is at a higher price point, so it really doesn't make sense that we're below that number. I think CleanSpark has lagged a little bit. So that's another 40% potential upside just to get back to where I believe we should be above already right now. So obviously, again, this is not financial advice. You guys need to decide this for yourself. These are my personal price targets. As you can see, CleanSpark, as well as all the Bitcoin miners, are extremely volatile companies, so do your own due diligence and please trade carefully. Okay, so the last price point I want to look at is back in August of 2022, Bitcoin did get up to $25,000. So like I said, this morning we were actually at $24,000. So we are closing in on that. So if CleanSpark can just get back to where it was when Bitcoin was at $25,000, and again, they're more than double the size company that they were then, that would be a 91% move to the upside from here. So I do think these are realistic price targets. Obviously, the main thing they're dependent on is Bitcoin staying healthy and continuing to rally a little bit. If Bitcoin turns around, obviously you can see there's always room to the downside. They're now 50% off of their recent lows. So obviously, if Bitcoin were to revisit its lows, that's a part of your risk reward equation right there. So that's what I got for you on CleanSpark. This was a spectacular month operationally for them. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Also, if everybody could please smash the like button. Lastly, if you want to support the channel, you can become a member by hitting the join button. If you don't see a join button, there should be a link in the description below. So hello to all the members, and I appreciate everybody's support. Thanks so much, and I will see you in the next video.